Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I've got a fun project for you today. Take a look at this quilt behind me. Isn't this fun? Now this is one of those happy accidents. This is a quilt I started making, and it wasn't at all the quilt I ended up with in the end. So let me show you how to do this because this is really fun. So to make this quilt, what you're going to need is 2 rolls of 2.5-inch strips. One's going to be a print, one's going to be a background fabric. Then you're going to need this border fabric out here. We didn't have an inner border, just the border fabric out here. And it's 1.25 yards. They're 6-inch strips. Our backing is 4.5 yards, and we just used this darling dot that's part of the line. And the fabric we used is called Blueberry Patch by Kathy Engel for Island Batik. And so it's just a really, really fun way to do it. So to make this quilt, we're going to start by taking our strip right here, and we are going to open it up. We're going to cut off the little selvage edges, and there aren't much on a batik roll. Let me get this all lined out here. We're just going to cut off this little edge right here just to make sure we don't want any little pieces in there, like this. And then we're going to cut 4.5 by 2.5-inch rectangles. So I'm going to lay my little ruler on here longwise. It means I don't have to count squares. I just look at my ruler and I can see that I'm at the 4.5 right there. And you're going to cut 4 of those off every strip. So I have it folded in half. So now I have my 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. So 4 off every strip. The remainder of your strip you are going to open up and you're going to sew together with 3 strips. You're going to sew 3 strips together to make a strip set of 3. So it's going to look like this. And basically what we're going to do is we're just going to lay these right sides together. And again, sometimes on a batik it's hard to tell the right side. If it's hard to tell the right side, it really doesn't matter. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay these right on top of each other, and we're going to sew 1/4 inch right down the side, and we're going to add another one to them. So you'll end up with 3, and here's our 3 right here. So 3 together. I've pressed them so that the middle seam goes out. And that, you know, as you sew these together, it only matters if you do that every other one. So we're not going to worry about that too much about the pressing, but it does help it lay nice and flat. So what we're going to do now is once you get your strip set sewn together, we're going to cut these in 2.5-inch strips. So little sets like this, so 2.5, and we're going to cut the whole rest of our strip set up into 2.5-inch pieces, just like this. And then you're going to pile these in a pile. So we've piled our 4.5-inch pieces. We've piled these. These are, because you're using all different strips, you're going to have a whole pile of strip sets that are all different, and you're going to want to pick 3 different ones to put together into a 9-patch. Now I have 2 started here, and you can see I've sewn 1/4 inch right down the side here, and we're going to go ahead and add one of these strips to make our 9-patch. And I'm going to see what side this looks the best on, and I think I'm going to go for, I think I'll go this way over here. So just take a look at your block, see where it looks the best. We're going to lay these right sides together, and we're going to sew 1/4 inch. Now our seams are going the same way, and I will probably just push those over when I sew it down so that it lays nice and flat. And so I can feel right here, there's no, you know, that's just right together. The seam I'm matching up, it's just nice and tight right there, and that connection's really good. All right. So now we're just going to sew 1/4 inch right down the side. And I'm going to take a few little anchoring stitches, and then I'm going to make sure that where my seams come together, that it connects. And then off the end. Alrighty, so now I'm going to press this nice and flat, and I can move that. So this is the basis of our block. We're starting with this cute little 9-patch, and it just looks great. We're going to add some borders around it, and I'm fascinated by what happens to a block when you start bordering it and bordering it and bordering it. So next we have to take our background strips, and we're going to take 27 of those and cut them into 2.5-inch squares. Then we're going to take 9 of them, and we're going to cut those into 2.5 by 4.5-inch rectangles. So what we're going to do first is we're going to start off with some of these rectangles right here. We're going to take 4 of these and we're going to make them into flying geese units. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my 2.5 inch square like this. I'm going to finger crease it and I'm going to sit it on the edge of my, and this, remember, this is a 4.5 by 2.5 inch rectangle, and I'm going to sew diagonally right on the corner right there. And I'm just going to sew straight across, stay on your line. Then we're going to trim that off right there. And we're going to add another square to the other side. This is a super easy, quick little flying geese. And we're going to add another square over here. And crease that little line, add it on here. And sew on the line. And it should cross over in the middle, just like that. All right, now I'm going to trim this off. And we're going to iron this back. So we're going to make 4 of those for our block. Right here. And they can all be different. You know, if you need to trim this up a little bit, go ahead. And I'm going to, yep, that looks good. All right, so then what we're going to do is on the left-hand side of every flying geese, we're going to add a 2.5 inch square. So we're going to do that. And again, you make 4 of these, but 2 of them you're going to put a square on the left-hand side. So you're going to get a unit that looks just like this. All right, we need 2 of those. So let me go ahead and I'm going to make a few more of these flying geese and I'll meet you right back here. So now we have 4 of these flying geese units made, and we're going to put on every flying geese unit, you're going to put a 2.5 inch square on the left-hand side. So we can actually chain piece those through the sewing machine at 1/4 inch, and I'm going to get these lined up over here with 2 squares. So again, on the left-hand side, make sure it's on the left-hand side. And then we're going to put this one in, and hope I'm not confusing myself here. But as long as you have one right, you can watch all the others to make sure they're going the right way. All right. Now we're going to press these open, just like this. And then 2 of them, this unit is done. So for 2 of them, they're going to be like this. Now, for 2, the other 2, you're going to sew a 4.5 by 2.5 inch rectangle on the other side. So just like this, one will have a 2.5 on the left. Actually, they all do. And then 2 of them are going to have a 2.5 on the right. And this is your borders for the block. So we're going to go ahead and sew that one on. And then this one right here. Alrighty. We'll press these back and I'm going to show you how this goes together. So the hardest thing you're doing on this block is just sewing straight. It's pretty easy. All right. Now I have 4 of these flying geese that are the same, but on my blocks you can see they're scrappy. Everyone is different, and I wanted to do that for the look. And so let me show you how this goes, because what we're going to do is we're going to put 2 of these like this. These first 2 borders are going to go on opposite sides, just like that. Then these will go on the top and the bottom. And you see what's happening here? Isn't that so much fun? All right, so we're going to take this block to the sewing machine. We're going to sew these 2 on either end. And I'm just going to line this up and sew a 1/4 inch right down the side. And flip it around and sew the other side. And once you get going with these blocks, it is so much fun. And it really makes a fun quilt. There's lots of ways to set it, which is also part of the fun for me. So I'm going to press these back. And then we'll add these to the other side like this. And the cool thing about this is right here you can see the seams match up here. And those are, for me, those are little places where it keeps everything lined up. So we're going to add this on either side right here, and we'll go to the sewing machine and sew 1/4 inch right down the side. Let me make sure this is matched up and I got my seams together. And then we're going to flip it around and sew the other side. And you'll see I just grabbed that. I didn't, as long as your flying geese is facing toward the middle, you can't get this wrong. Alrighty, there we go. All right, and again, these are the same, but I scrapped mine up. I wanted them all to look different. Get a little steam on there. Get a little steam on there. All right, and here's your block. Isn't that cool? I just love how it goes together. So, I mean, when you start thinking about ways to set this block up, I mean, there are so many different ways. First of all, you can line them up so they all go the same direction. You know, so we've got blocks here that are all going the same direction. The way we did ours was we kind of did it in a square. So we've got, let me actually go over here. So we've got, in like this, 4 of these that come in that way. And I just loved playing with this because there was a lot of different things you can do. So we did this, and then the bottom one, and I actually had to have my kids look at this to make sure I did it right, because I'm a little angrily challenged, and I can't always see when something's turned, and we really looked at this quilt. So I hope we got all the squares right on this one. So this row, it's just, we just kind of did it almost like a little chevron, and then did the next row opposite. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 by 6, 36 blocks, makes a quilt that's 71 by 71. So it's a great project, a lot of fun. I actually think this would be an awesome scrappy project. Can you just imagine if every single one of those squares was different? That would be a really fun quilt. So we hope you enjoyed this tutorial on the Tilted 9 patch from the Missouri Star Quilt Company.